before in Regulation E that you have one team building. And we can kind of see here from Brian Collins that this is an example of that.
Mhm.
Kind of standard stuff with like the King Gambit and the Flutterman and the Iron Hands, but we see Rillaboom taking advantage of the new tutor move, that being Grassy Glide.
Yep. So Brian, just to introduce, he qualified for Worlds 2023, met him at Japan, and then notably from the previous season, he made top 8 at Orlando Regionals, Regulation B. It was that meme that went around, everybody wore chef hats, and then he had the Indeedee Armourouge team with Mouseho, Tatsugiri Dondozo, then had a pretty decent record from the past 2 years of competing in this World Cup. This time, very consistent, and then this time helping out Team Ireland again for the 3rd time in a row. I think he's a player that Team Ireland relies on.
Yeah, I think, like you kind of mentioned before, Brian is very consistently known for using Trick Room. So to see a team like this kind of pop up is very interesting, and I'm very excited to see how they want to play it.
True. Talking about other accomplishments from Brian, he recently got top 32 at Pittsburgh Regional. That would be the last Regulation B tournament in NA. So I think he's coming in very strong. A lot of experience from this Scarlet and Violet game, and I'm interested to see how he pilots his team against the newcomer of Pakistan. So we're gonna introduce Syed Jaffery. Like you said just now, Tyson, Syed actually participated in Chicago PC and then moved on to play in Peoria this weekend. So unfortunately, he did not make day 2, but nice to see sort of a player from NA going up against a player from Brian's also from the NA region. So yeah, it's nice to have Syed here representing Pakistan.
Yeah, for sure. And I think even with Brian's team, Syed's having a lot of cool options like the Pelipper, like the Tornadus, really gives them a chance into something like the Rillaboom and the Ogerpon, which are weak to those stab flying moves.
I believe you have some experience with Pelipper, right? Like you recently used it in a Regulation E tour, the Beast Coast tour.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I think Landorus is very strong in this meta right now, as having access to that Terra Flying Blast is super, super strong. Being able to hit things like Rillaboom, Ogerpon, and stopping Tantrum being into good things like Iron Hands as well.
Yep. So let's take a look at Syed's team from Team Pakistan. So notably no accomplishments here, but he recently got his first few CPs from that Chicago PC, making top cut and then getting top 7th place, top 8 throughout. So very nice to see a new player in our mix. In this Scarlet and Violet game, with this open team sheet, really any player can come out on top. We saw all these breakthrough stories from people playing regionals for the first time, right, and then winning it all. So here we have Tornadus, Fluttermane, Urshifu, Water type, then Landorus, the Ogerpon, the same Ogerpon for both sides, and notably that Pelipper. I'm not sure if he got Weather Ball in this DLC. Then nice to see the Pelipper being a little bit different here. I think it can be a spicy addition to help this team, especially with that Tornadus.
Yeah, and absolutely. I think Pelipper is an amazing choice right now in the current Regulation E meta that, like we mentioned before, that Hurricane and those strong flying stab moves really offer a lot of damage. The Weather Ball, a 100% accurate water move when in the rain, into something like that Landorus, which is a top mon, is really, really good. And being able to guarantee you hit your Hurricanes not only in your own rate, but with Tornadus if you do somehow lose it with something like a Torkoal. Very notably on this team as well, we have 2 taunt users, that being in Landorus and Tornadus, a little more standard on Tornadus, but on Landorus with the Scarf very notably, and Urshifu being Choice Band with Protect.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's gonna probably come in this situation here, like with that Tornadus having Tailwind support, everyone's gonna go fast, and I think it's a good chance to take very quick KOs. The synergy with that Pelipper and Urshifu, yeah, like you said, like really gonna make an impact. So maybe I'm not sure if Brian is, he would dare to bring that Fire Ogerpon.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to see Fire Ogerpon on this team because you have a Pokemon with Rain Dance and a Pokemon with Drizzle. So bringing your Fire Ogerpon seems kind of counterintuitive. It might be there for a specific matchup or something like that. But I think Syed has a decent chance if they can manage their Pelipper and Tornadus, again, offering those super strong flying stabs. And notably as well, because it's kind of repeated in that Tornadus and Pelipper, maybe that's why their Landorus opted for something like that Taunt over that Terra Blast on the Landorus.
That makes sense. Yeah, so with that, I think we can jump into our game, take a look at how this played out. Currently, Ireland is up 2-0. Let's see if Pakistan can try to equalize the score as much as they can.
So we are going to see Syed here lead with the Pelipper and the Tornadus, and from Brian's side, that Rillaboom and that Iron Hands. So double Fake Out and double flying.
Double flying, double tailwind, right? And both like looking very threatening against that Rillaboom. I think with Fake Out, I think Brian can try and maneuver his way out of this lead. And even the Iron Hands threatening easily that electric type damage onto both sides from Syed. Syed seems to want to try and set up that tailwind fast, maybe get one Pokemon to go down and then get the back few Pokemon to try and sweep the game.
Yeah, and very notably here, neither of these Pokemon have Protect, so something like a Fake Out or a Wild Charge from Brian's side here is going to be pretty much free. There's nothing that really Syed can do to stop it, and we are going to see a Fake Out there into the Pelipper, and just a Tailwind from the Tornadus, a very standard turn one. With something like that Covert Cloak, it was all but guaranteed.
Yeah, and it's funny, maybe he tried to click Tailwind on both sides, or maybe he just simply went for the Hurricane into the Rillaboom slot. We'll never know, but a very clean turn one from Brian here with the Wild Charge going straight into the Pelipper. Not much damage was taken in recoil, and then the electric terrain, the grassy terrain just healed it back up. Fluttermane comes out now, showing that booster energy to boost special attack, and with that Tailwind, Syed seems locked and ready to go. Let's see how Brian maneuvers out of this situation.
Yeah, so it's very interesting as well that it looks like on the team sheet that Syed has actually opted for the Terra Ghost on Fluttermane. We're going to find out if that's correct, and hopefully in a little bit, which actually might allow them to avoid something like that Heavy Slam on Iron Hands. We see Brian kind of considering it here, but I believe the reason you bring in Pelipper on that turn one is you can get a Hurricane off if they let you, but if you go down to something like a Wild Charge, you have Bleak when you have Fluttermane in the back.
Yeah, that's true, and then this Pelipper is holding the Damp Rock, right? So the rain turns just extend, and then now like both Fluttermane and Tornadus can just use spread moves all the way, so we do see Rillaboom trying to protect, and then Fluttermane just going for Dazzling Gleam, and then this Big Windstorm 100% accurate in rain, doing so much damage into Iron Hands, but Iron Hands being the boss that he is, surviving and then going for that Heavy Slam, taking the second KO in this game, bringing Syed just down to 2 Pokemon.
Yeah, Brian really showing the value of Iron Hands here and how threatening it can be in the Syed if they don't have something like that Landorus in the back to intimidate it down or, offer an immunity to that Wild Charge. Having 3 Pokemon be weak to Wild Charge and not having Landorus as a switch-in kind of allows Iron Hands to run through the team, which is a little bit unfortunate for Syed in this game one. But Urshifu, with the power of Urshifu, you are able to bring games back in a flash with something like a Terra Water Surging Strikes.
Yeah, but the Urshifu needs to get through this Grassy Glide coming out from Rillaboom first, so let's see if he can do that. The Urshifu is Terra Water. Not sure if he wants to do it. Let's see this Terra coming out from the Urshifu. It really is the... Oh, actually it's...
Oh, it's fighting!
Fighting type. Yeah, so that's good. That will remove the weakness to Grassy Glide, which is coming out right now. Yeah, taking it very well. Surging Strike does go into the Iron Hands, gets one hit, and then the Bleak Windstorm now becomes a single target move into Rillaboom. Let's see if it's able to take the KO and even out the playing field.
Oh, so close, but unfortunately Tornadus is going to barely miss that KO on Rillaboom. Whether or not that's a roll is kind of up in the air. It looks like it could have been maybe. But something like this Bandit Urshifu does definitely have potential, with maybe 1 or 2 turns of tailwind left on Syed's end. This Urshifu does have the potential with that Terra fighting to resist those Grassy Glides. Or, excuse me, not resist. But it is not weak to
neutral, take neutral damage, right? So Ogerpon comes in here. Brian had a choice. We saw with his perspective here that he had a choice between Ogerpon and Landorus, but maybe I think saving that Scarf Landorus after Tailwind ends could be important here. But you really need to take out that Tornadus on Syed's side, right? Because he can easily go for that Prankster Tailwind again to let Urshifu go ham. So Ogerpon here like might be forced to Spiky Shield, right? So let's see, because it like definitely cannot take that Surging Strikes well. So I think it's still an even game here.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a weird turn because you do get this double Grassy Glide off, but something like a Bleak Wind, again in that guaranteed rain, is going to be able to connect with the Tornadus here. The Tornadus will be able to connect guaranteed into both of these Pokemon, and depending on how Brian's Ogerpon is built, this might just kill Ogerpon, but it does not, and it does hang on. But the speed drop is very, very notable.
True. So it would be Tornadus against both Ogerpon and Landorus here, but very good turn coming out from Brian with that double priority. We've been seeing this double grass of Ogerpon and Rillaboom in Regulation E. It really proves to be very effective against most teams, as long as you get that grassy terrain up, right? So Landorus does come in here. Wow, this Tornadus from Syed really putting in so much work with that Bleak Windstorm, but still unfortunate that it's not enough because Ogerpon is really just so bulky in this metagame.
Absolutely. So this Tornadus here actually taking advantage of this as well. The Pelipper Damp Rock really hopefully gets to show its value here. The Ogerpon is going to be able to get off a +1 Grassy Glide into the Tornadus, actually doing a decent amount of chip. And if Landorus does hit the Rock Slide, this most likely... Oh! The Tornadus actually lives, even through the single target, and is able to get off another Bleak Wind Storm.
Everybody is putting in some EVs in HP and the defenses, right? In this Regulation E format. I think throughout Scarlet and Violet, you really just have a lot of creativity to build your Pokemon and train them. So very nice to see all these Pokemon surviving, even though we thought that move is super powerful. So notably here with the Scarf, Landorus is able to move first before Tornadus. Luckily, Rock Slide hits, and here, like really with any critical hit or Rock Slide miss, Syed would have gotten the game. So let's see how these players adjust for game 2. Same leads from Brian here with this double fake out, but instead of Tornadus this time, Syed leads with Pelipper and Landorus.
Yeah, I don't think there's any problem with what Brian's leading here. That double fake out and then Iron Hands again, exactly like we talked about in game 1, being super, super strong. Being able to OHKO that Pelipper, even you know, at -1 from something like this Landorus. But the Landorus is going to opt to U-turn to just get chipped onto that Rillaboom, just so something like a Bleak Wind Storm, if the Tornadus decides to come in here, guarantees the KO on Rillaboom this time.
Yeah, true. So kind of the same turn of events in terms of the fake out into the Pelipper. Do we see another wild charge right into the Pelipper slot? Yeah, poor little bird can't do anything but except that brain for 8 turns, right? But this time it's such an interesting situation where the Tornadus comes in fresh. It does still have to go for Tailwind, but like another Pokemon can come in, hopefully make much more impact. with these Landers, it does make so much sense with the Intimidate, doing 2 Intimidates down into Iron Hands and Rillaboom.
So with Tornadus' speed, sir, you can assume that you're faster, even without Tailwind. You can kind of delay your turn to Tailwind. You don't really need it until you need the speed turn. So something like a Stomping Tantrum into the Iron Hands here just to get off damage, and maybe something like a Bleak Wind Storm to just start doing chip damage with the Tornadus, and again, make Brian really respect this Tornadus and kind of avoid the other slot.
Yeah, really well said. So instead of using Tailwind, you can even use the Bleak Wind Storm to lower speed, right? Like a super upgraded Icy Wind here. And Tornadus really going on that offense here, going with that Terra Flying to make sure it gets more damage off. Brian seems to be forced, to switch that Rillaboom out to kind of reset Intimidates here, bring in his own Landorus to Intimidate. So let's see how much these Landorus can take. Wow, that's half damage from that Bleak Wind Storm.
Yeah, maybe he's left their Terra Shards at home, but it's actually paying off here, allowing them to do over 50% to the Landorus there, which is super, super big. And depending who's faster with their Scarf, Landorus could definitely matter in an endgame scenario if Brian does decide to preserve their Landorus. But instead, we do see them opt into a Rock Slide.
Yeah, maybe to try and just go for as much damage into the Tornadus as possible. So here, the Iron Hands switches out. I think maybe it makes sense to reset, fake out, and also to resist that Stomping Tantrum, knowing that Syed's Landorus is locked into the ground move. Good switching into Rillaboom here. Rock Slide doing very little damage actually. And then,
yeah, but even with that Stomping Tantrum, with that crit and the Bleak Wind Storm hitting off there, very notably that the Landorus missed that Rock Slide into the Tornadus, which I think Brian kind of wanted to hit in that scenario. Very much in range of KO being KO'd by that Rock Slide. The Tornadus dodging is huge there, and being able to pick up a double KO and resetting this fake off for this Iron Hands at 47 HP, and this Ogerpon really doesn't want to be staring down a Tornadus. You're kind of forced to fake out into that slot, even though it has the Covert Cloak, just to get damage. Otherwise, your Iron Hands is going down anyways. I think something like a Grassy Glide fake out to maybe KO the Tornadus before it gets to do anything is kind of how you want to get rid of the Tornadus. But at the same time, if you Terra Fire to get the +1, the Landorus is now strong in you with a Stomping Tantrum.
Yeah, what a strange predicament for Brian. I think he seems to want to go all in here. Goes for that Terra to use the Embody Aspect and get that +1 boost to the Ogerpon. I didn't see what the fake out was targeted into. It seems to be on that Landorus, so let's see if this actually pays off. Syed is really putting on so much pressure here.
Yeah, absolutely. And this Glide, hoping to KO the Tornadus. Unfortunately not.
So fake out Grassy Glide. Fake out Grassy Glide could have been, could have worked, right?
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking, is if you go for the fake out Grassy Glide, is you're able to get the KO on the Tornadus and avoid the Bleak Wind. But the problem is now you're terrestrialized into the fire type, so something like a Stomping Tantrum. It's a really downhill, or it's a really uphill battle for Brian here. And I think fake out in the Landorus also makes a lot of sense. It's just very, very uphill. And after that miss, the Tornadus is just allowed to run away with this game and go for something like a Tailwind just to Stomping Tantrum and most likely just finish up this game.
Yeah, so
yeah,
wow,
Brian gets a critical hit with the Grassy Glide.
Yeah, wow. Ogerpon really want to show who's boss here. The critical hit should matter, right, into this Landorus. With the grassy terrain gone.
Yeah, so with the grassy terrain gone, there's no more glide option, and Syed got up that Tailwind. And with the Damp Rock as well, just so many factors to factor in here. The Tornadus is going to be able to go for 100% Bleak Wind, and Fluttermane for something like a Shadow Ball. And at the range this Ogerpon is at, I'm not sure if it's able to eat that double up. You are able to go for Spiky Shields and maybe start off the Sprain and Tailwind with Brian, but you're going to need a little luck on your side to get that off here.
Yeah, I think this is a good... it does make sense to maybe go for 2 or 3 Spiky Shields to stall out that rain. Interesting to see the Fluttermane opt to go for Protect here instead of just try and do damage to finish off the game. I hope Brian gets to show us how many turns of rain are left, but he does not opt to go for yet another Spiky Shield. Sure enough, it survives that Shadow Ball, and that could be good information going into Game 3, as we see this Bleak Windstorm from that Terra Flying Tornadoes just take out the Ogre Pawn once and for all. I think a very good Game 2 performance from Syed here.
Yeah, absolutely. Really showing, like we talked about in that game one, that you really do need Landorus in this matchup. Even if it's just pressuring Pokemon, right, and threatening stomping tantrums into certain slots, you just kind of need it. Otherwise, Iron Hand just runs away with the game. As we saw, Stomping Tantrum was able to do so much damage to Iron Hands and get it in a range of something like that Terrifying Bleak Wind. If you're able to preserve your Landorus a little bit more, I think that's Syed's key to victory.
Yeah, I think a very good adjustment in Game 2 as well for Syed. What a cool strategy to bring in Landorus, U-turn out, right? Let the Pelipper go down and then bring Landorus back in. Honestly, like at that situation, didn't have to go for Tailwind in turn 1 or even turns 2 or 3, recognizing that Brian's Pokemon, like Brian has led the Iron Hands and Rillaboom for 2 games now, right? The slow Pokemon on the field, and recognizing that you don't have to just blindly click that Tailwind button first and then just go for damage, especially when Pelipper has set up the rain. Yeah, what a cool adjustment in this Game 2, and nice to see that Landorus on Syed's side put in so much impact.
Yeah, absolutely as well. And I think Syed really demonstrating that Pelipper doesn't necessarily need to stay around. Sometimes all you need in a game is to set up the rain for your Urshifu to get those rain boosted, well, in this case, fighting boosted and rain boosted surging strikes. But we are going to jump into Game 3 here. Hopefully Syed or Brian can take it home for their team.
Yeah, nice to see this game go to Game 3. We see the same leads from Syed. And wow, King Gambit now hits the field. This is an adjustment for Brian in this game.
Yeah, so I think Brian really playing into Syed's head here and saying, okay, I'm going to lead Iron Hands Rillaboom both of the games. They're definitely bringing Landorus Game 3, and that showing off amazingly here. And Syed leading Landorus, thinking they could get away with it into the Rillaboom Iron Hands possibly.
Yep, so fake out, fearing Landorus' Stomping Tantrum. Syed does just go for that Tailwind here instead of Bleak Windstorm. But Bleak Windstorm lowers the King Gambit's speed, right? So that will boost the attack way more. So here comes the Kowtow Creep into the Tornadoes, actually not being able to take that KO at +1 attack.
But not being able to KO is honestly fine because you're not giving a free switch in for Syed here. Instead, you're able to go for something like a Grassy Glide, which should be able to pick up even at this range. This King Gambit being able to go for that Terra Dark and Sucker Punch at +1 is definitely in range, or very capable, I should say, to pick up this Landorus.
So here comes the first priority move of Grassy Glide. Well enough to take out that Tornadoes on this turn. And Sucker Punch does go into that Scarf Landorus. It is forced into a move, therefore Sucker Punch would always work. Oh, but it isn't able to take out. Like, wow, the bulk of these genies are way too strong. U-turn does go into the Rillaboom for Syed to try and pivot and bring the Pokemon in the back to try and win this game. But this King Gambit's pressure is really strong.
Yeah, I think this is a very scary position for Syed, unfortunately, because now you have your Landorus in the back. Yes, you've U-turned out, but you're going to have to switch it in eventually. And something like an Urshifu actually will be able to help Syed out a lot, but losing your Tornadus, which gave you a lot of momentum in both games 1 and 2, is now gone. And not having that piece, I think, is going to be super detrimental to Syed's game plan. But again, with the power of Urshifu, you're not out yet.
Wow, somehow Syed planned for this and did not bring Fluttermane, but brought Urshifu instead. This has to be the fighting Terra on his Urshifu. A unique choice, but it plays so well in this situation.
Oh, but I think it might have been a team sheet error, so it was maybe not supposed to be fighting in that game 1, and water does make a lot more sense. But it is going to be weak to the Grassy Glide still, and something like a Sucker Punch might be able to double up into it and pick it up, which it does.
Oh no, so poor Pelipper is left alone here. The fighting Terra would have been really cool, like could be a coincidental mistake, but unfortunately it is a team sheet error, and Syed seems to be using the correct Pokemon now. Unfortunately, that Urshifu, even in Tailwind, does go down to these both the priority moves coming out from Brian's side. Very strong strategy in Game 3 for Brian.
Yeah, so unfortunately, again, that Lander's coming in here as that final Pokemon for Syed, or as we saw on lead. The Kingambit is just going to get another boost, and I think with something like the Iron Hands, you're able to go for a Fake Out and just Kowtow Cleave. Even with a critical hit, just because of how bulky Kingambit is, there's no way it's able to kill. Something like a Sucker Punch into Landorus is also equally as safe if it does not have Taunt. Again, with these team sheets being all over the place, something like a Sucker Punch is just guaranteed in this Landorus.
Yep, so here comes the Sucker Punch and the Fake Out into the Pelipper. Brian is going for the home run here. I think he has, with just this one Kingambit, just adjusted so well in this game 3 and was easily able to take this game.
Yeah, and really well played from Brian here. Really amazing adaptation, game 3, to know to bring that Kingambit and kind of read inside of Syed's mind and have Landorus, or call the Landorus on lead. Really, really well played, and